girivaradhare. Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunachiravanachare Yamunachiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhare Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunachiravanachare Yamunachiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhare Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunachiravanachare Yamunachiravanachare Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhai Charan Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nasta prayeshvabhadrisho nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavachuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9 and verse number 30. Please repeat. Yāvat sakhā sakhyuḥ iveśa te kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthitaḥ ma me samunnaddha-mado aja māninaḥ yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito ma me samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ ma me samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito ma me samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Please repeat. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito ma me samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito Vaishnavi. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam. samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa kṛtaḥ prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhoḥ janam. Aviklavas parikarmaṇi. Madaḥ samunnaddha-mado janam. Yāvat, as it is, sakhā, friend, sakhyuḥ, unto the friend, iveśa, like that, iveśa, O Lord, te, you, kṛtaḥ, have accepted. Prajā is a living entities, visarge, in the matter of creation, vibhajāmi, as I shall do it differently. Bhoḥ, O my Lord, janam, those who are born. Aviklavas, without being perturbed. Te, your, parikarmaṇi, in the matter of service. Sthitaḥ, thus situated. May it never be. Me, unto me. Samunnaddha, resulting arise. Madaḥ, madness. Aja, O unborn one. Māninaḥ, thus being thought of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me, just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the Supreme. Purport. Lord Brahma is definitely situated in the humor of friendship with the Lord. Every living being is eternally related with the personality of Godhead in one of 5 different transcendental humors, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. We have already discussed these 5 kinds of humors in relationship with the personality of Godhead. It is clearly exhibited herein that Lord Brahma is related to the personality of Godhead in the transcendental humor of friendship. A pure devotee may be related with the Lord in any one of the transcendental humors, even in the humor of parenthood. But the devotee of the Lord is always a transcendental servitor. No one is equal to or greater than the Lord. That is the version of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji, although eternally related with the Lord in the transcendental humor of friendship, and although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, is still conscious of his position, that he is neither the Supreme Lord nor supremely powerful. It is possible that some extremely powerful personality within or without the universe, may sometimes show more power than the Lord himself. Still, the pure devotee knows that this power is a vibhuti delegated by the Lord, and such a delegated powerful living entity is never independent. Sri Hanumanji crossed the Indian Ocean by jumping over the sea, and Lord Sri Ramachandra engaged himself in marching over the bridge. But this does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes the Lord gives extraordinary powers to his devotee, but the devotee knows always that the power belongs to the personality of Godhead, and that the devotee is only an instrument. The pure devotee is never puffed up like the non-devotee class of men who falsely think that they are God. It is astonishing to see how a person who is being kicked by the laws of the Lord's illusory energy at every step can falsely think of becoming one with the Lord. Such thinking is the last snare of the illusory energy offered to the conditioned soul. The first illusion is that he wants to become Lord of the material world by accumulating wealth and power, but when he is frustrated in that attempt, he wants to be one with the Lord. So, both becoming the most powerful man in the material world and desiring to become one with the Lord are different illusory snares. And because the pure devotees of the Lord are surrendered souls, they are above the illusory snares of Maya. Because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, even though the first dominating deity in the material world, and therefore able to do many wonderful things, he would never, like the non-devotee with a poor fund of knowledge, have the audacity to think of becoming one with the Lord. People with a poor fund of knowledge should take lessons from Brahma when they are puffed up with the false notion of becoming God. Factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. In the beginning of the creation, he is empowered to give different bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. Brahmaji's duty is just to wake the living entities from their slumber and to engage them in their proper duty. The different grades of living entities are not created by Brahmaji by his capricious whims, but he is entrusted with the task of giving the living entities different grades of body so that they can work accordingly. And still, he is conscious that he is only instrumental, so that he may not think of himself as a supreme powerful Lord. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer, but to the Lord. But persons with a poor fund of knowledge take the credit of success into their own accounts and give nothing to the credit of the Lord. That is a symptom of the non-devotee class of men. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyade Shatarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Gurubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Today, in the purport, in the translation of the verse, Srila Prabhupada refers to the one previous verse, number 19, where it is stated, Tam priyamanam samupastitam kavim prajā-visarge nijashasanarthanam vibhajāmi smitashocisha gira priyah priyam pritamanah kaesprishan. If you noticed, in today's verse, the translation has the words like Lord Brahma praying to the Lord, and he told, "O my Lord, you have shaken hands with me, just as a friend with a friend." So, in the 19th verse, there is a translation of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada translated the two words, kara sparsha, as shaking hands. And because of that, Srila Prabhupada states that Lord Brahma is eternally in a relationship with the Supreme Lord in transcendental humor of friendship. And what is this kara sparsha? This is very unique translation of Srila Prabhupada. Because generally, kara sparsha means just touching hands very gently. I remember 4 years before I was in Tamil Nadu, and me and some other brahmacharis, two brahmacharis, we went to the house of one respected gentleman to collect donation from him. And he is very traditional man, very cultural, and when we came to his house, he touched our hands very gently, like this. So it's more likely to be called kara sparsha. But in the Western world, people often shake hands with each other. It's a gesture of respect. If someone wants to shake hands with you and you refuse, this is an offense. And Srila Prabhupada made his books for the whole world, for all the continents, Europe, Asia, etc. And of course, Srila Prabhupada started preaching in America. And this second canto, he was writing it in the maybe in the 66, 65, 67 years. During that time, he was in America. And of course, Srila Prabhupada had a vision that his movement will be spread throughout the world. But that time, his movement was spread in America. And Srila Prabhupada wrote that Supreme Lord shake hands with Lord Brahma. So, and it makes very wonderful, it gives wonderful sense to some part of the purport of Srila Prabhupada, to that previous verse. What does it mean to shake hands? Srila Prabhupada writes, anyone, however, preaching the mission of the Lord in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord, and the Lord, being satisfied with such a preacher of the authorized bhakti cult, shakes hands with him in great satisfaction. So every one of us has a chance to shake hands with the Supreme Lord. In which case, if we preach the message of Lord Brahma. And in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about how Lord Brahma is situated in the transcendental humor of friendship with the Supreme Lord. And to me, it's very interesting and very relishable point. Just in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, beginning of Bhagavad Gita means what? Dhritarashtra Vacha. No, beginning of the Bhagavad Gita means preface, but more particularly introduction. To Srila Prabhupada, introduction was very important part of the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Now, there are available two diaries of Srila Prabhupada. First diary, he wrote on Jaladuta, and the second diary, he wrote in New York, 1965, 1966. And in that second diary, Srila Prabhupada very carefully wrote down all of his expenses in New York. Bus fare, so-and-so, cents, and rent for his room, buying some vegetables, etc., etc. And if you read this diary, I highly recommend, you will find the first major expense of Srila Prabhupada in New York. How do you think what it was? No. Any suggestions? No. It was a tape recorder. Just record. Now we have small recorders, but that time Srila Prabhupada bought for himself first tape recorder. Of course, later we know from Prabhupada Lilamrita and also from one very wonderful book by Gargamuni Prabhu. It's called Gargamani, this wonderful book, full of stories, full of memories of Gargamuni Prabhu and Gargamuni Swami at that time. And from these two books we know that it was Gargamuni who first gave tape recorder for Srila Prabhupada. But no, from that second diary in New York we know that first of all Srila Prabhupada purchased this tape recorder for himself. He spent about $56. It was a huge amount of money, actually. And when he purchased this tape recorder, first recording he made, it was introduction to Gita Upanishad. If you found if you opened Bhaktivedanta archives, where there are all of Srila Prabhupada's recordings, the very first recording is that introduction to Gita Upanishad. And we know mostly Srila Prabhupada's classes last about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but that introduction to Isha Upanishad lasted 3 hours. It was first recording of Srila Prabhupada. So it was very important for Srila Prabhupada to write this, to have this introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. And in the beginning of the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada speaks to us the most important things. Among them, there is one particular point. Srila Prabhupada writes, as soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter. But briefly, it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways. One may be a devotee in a passive state, in an active state, as a friend, as a parent, and as a conjugal lover. Right in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada gives us understanding that this Krishna consciousness movement, this Krishna conscious philosophy is something very different from other religions in this world. This is something very sublime. I may tell also that not only to the comparison of other religions, but we know there are 4 bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas. Sampradaya vihinaye, mantraste nishpala madaḥ, atah kala bhavishyati chatvaro sampradayanaha. There are 4 bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas, and everyone can take shelter of one of them. Shri Brahma Rudra Sanaka Vaishnava Kshiti Pavanaha Chatvarasto Kalau Bhavya Hyut Kale Purushottamat. Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Sanaka Sampradaya, and Shri Lakshmi Sampradaya. And in all of these sampradayas, you hardly find a conception of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in, for example, in conjugal love. So this Bhagavad Gita, given by Srila Prabhupada, gives us very sublime philosophy. And today I want to spend some time speaking about Sakhyaras, because Lord Brahma was in Sakhyaras with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does it mean? In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is two verses spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. I know all of you know these verses, just repeat. Shravanam kirtanam vishnok smaranam padasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakyam atma nivedanam, etc. And there are 9 main processes of devotional service. Actually, there are 9 types of processes, because every type among these 9 includes in itself some different ways of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So among them there is Sakyam. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu there is a verse described who are the best devotees in connected to these 9 processes. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshra Bhavat Vayasakih Kirtane Prahladak Smarane Tadan Vibhajāmi Lakshmi Prithuh Pujane Akrurastva Pivandane Kapipatir Dasye Thasakha Sakhyur Arjuna. So Arjuna is the best devotee situated in Sakhyarasa. He is exemplary type of devotee. And Srila Prabhupada compiled very nice purport of these verses. And he quoted also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada writes, in the purport of this verse, Sakyam means being a well-wisher of Krishna. So if you want to be well-wisher, to be friend of Krishna, if you want to know how to render service as Dasya, so you can know it from here. Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him, because everyone is constitutionally his servant. Therefore, as a sincere friend of Krishna, one should preach this philosophy, requesting everyone to surrender unto Krishna. So, what does it mean? What does friend do? A friend is always unhappy when his friend is unhappy. He is parasukha sukhi, paradukha dukhi. This is a symptom of a real friend. So, if Krishna's friend thinks, oh, Krishna wants all this conditioned soul to be liberated, so I must help him, I must help Krishna. So that is the way how we can render service to Krishna in a Sakhya mood. And this Sakhya bhav is very elaborately described in Nectar of Devotion. And in the 3rd part, it's called Western section of the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. And I briefly explain, I will briefly speak about this because it is important for our future analysis today. So there are 2 types of devotees in Sakhyaras. First type of devotees in Sakhyaras are devotees in the cities. Which cities? It's not about Kolkata or New York. It's about Mathura and Dwaraka. So among the devotees, the most prominent devotees in the cities are Pandavas, Sudama Vipra, and Draupadi. Yes, she is also a devotee in Sakhyaras. And among them, the chief, the best devotee is Arjuna. And there are also devotees in the villages. Actually, in one village, in Vraja. And among them, there are 4 types. Suhrit type of devotees. These devotees are a little older than Krishna, and they also have a mixture of parental love, parentalhood to Krishna. Among them, there are such devotees as Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is also in Sakhyaras and a little bit in parenthood. Also, there are devotees as Mandali Bhadra, Virabhadra, Yaksha, and others. Second type of devotees in Dasya Ras or in Sakhya Ras in Vraj are called sakhā. They are a little bit younger than Krishna, so they have mixture of Dasya. There are such devotees as Vishala, Vrishabha, Ojasvi, Devaprastha. And there are other two types of devotees. They are called Priya Sakha and Priya Marma Sakha. It's difficult to distinguish between these two types. So, among them, there are topmost devotees of the Supreme Lord in Sakhya Ras. They are able to enter in very confidential places, and they are able to render very confidential service to the Lord Krishna, to help him to meet Radha, for example. Among them, there are such great devotees as Shridama, Sudama, Dama, Vasudama, Stoka Krishna, Subal, Arjuna, the another one, Ujjvala. So these are the topmost devotees in Sakhya Ras. So what does it mean for us? Okay, in Vraja there are some devotees in Sakhya Ras, they help Krishna. What does it mean for us? How is it relevant for us? It's very relevant, and to explain it, I want to go to 500 years back, and I want to read a little bit from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Khanda, 5th chapter. Ek din Shri Guru Sundara Narahari, Nibrite Barsila Nityananda Sangyakari. One day, Shri Gaura Sundar, the Supreme Lord, in the form of a human being, sat down with Nityananda in a solitary place. Rabba bole Shunna Nityananda Mahamati, Shatvare Chalahatumi Navadvipa Prati. The Lord said, "Listen, O magnanimous Nityananda, go quickly to Navadvip. I have personally promised to inundate the fools, the fallen, and the poor in the happiness of ecstatic love. If you also remain silent like a Muni and renounce your magnanimous nature, then tell me, who will deliver the fools and the wretched souls who have fallen into material life? You are the distributor of the mellows of devotional service. If you hide them, then what is the use of your incarnation in this world? Now, if you wish to fulfill my promise, then you should go to Bengal without delay." Murkha nichapati dukhita jata jan, bhakti diya koragiya shabaramachan. Deliver the foolish, wretched, fallen, and distressed persons by giving them devotional service. Having received the Lord's order, Nityananda Chandra immediately left for Gauradesh with his associates. Nityananda Swarup was accompanied by his intimate associates such as Ramadas, means Abhiram Thakur Ramadas, Gadadhar Das Mahashoy, Raghunath Vaidya, Krishna Das Pandit, Parameshwari Das, and the most jubilant Purandara Pandit. So, these verses explained that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted very much to execute his confidential mission to uplift all the living entities in the Bengal. And for this purpose, he ordered Lord Nityananda to go to Bengal. Mahaprabhu could not go himself because he already was in Jagannath Puri. He was engaged in the service, in the very confidential service to the Lord Krishna in separation. He was in such a mood that it was impossible to him to come back to Bengal. Also, as a sannyasi, he could not come back to his home place. Therefore, he ordered Nityananda to execute his mission. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was preached to higher class of people, but he ordered Lord Nityananda to preach to wretched, fallen souls. And if you go to Gauramandala Bhumi, there are many Shripads in this holy land. There are many holy places connected to the pastimes of Mahaprabhu's parshads. And if you go, you will find that most of the places are connected to the devotees of Lord Nityananda, because it was his main mission to preach in Bengal. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu was not alone. He was accompanied by his most confidential servants. Among them, we know 12 main devotees. They are called Dvadash Gopalas. I will just read their holy names to purify myself. First, Abhiram Thakur, Ramadas, first Gopal. Second Gopal, Sundarananda. Third Gopal, Kamalakarpi Palai. Gauridas Pandit, Parameshwari Das, Dhananjaya Pandit, Mahesh Pandit, Purushottam Pandit, Kala or Kaliya Krishna Das, Purushottam Nagar, Udharan Datta Thakur, and Kolavecha Sridhar. There are 12, but there were more. As we read from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are also names of such devotees as Raghunatha Vaidya, I don't know much about him, Purandara Pandit, and other devotees. Dvija Balaram, so many devotees. But among them there are 12, the most prominent. So Nityananda Prabhu traveled from town to town. If you read, you will find that, okay, Lord Nityananda went to Saptagram. Saptagram is a holy place, very important for us, because Udharan Datta Thakur was born there. He belonged to the Suvarnabhani community. And Srila Prabhupada wrote very wonderful purport in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to the verse describing Udharan Datta Thakur. Srila Prabhupada wrote that my parents were also born in that community of Suvarnabhani. So that place is very important for all of us. And so Nityananda Prabhu and his associates, they went to one place, and after some time, all the people in that place became devotees. Then they went to some other place, another place, and if you go to many places in Garamandal Bhumi, you can, I don't know, do kirtan and just say to some people, Jai Nitai, they will respond. In most cases, they will respond, Jai Nitai, everyone knows Nitai. So they were very successful preachers. So, why I'm speaking about this? Who are these Dvadash Gopals? Who are these devotees? By the mercy of the son of Shivananda Sen, his name is, I forgot. What is his name? Kavi Karnapur. Kavi Karnapur compiled Gaura Ganadesha Deepika. And from this book, we know who were these Dvadash Gopals in Vraja. I will tell you their names. Their names are Mahabala, Subala, Arjuna, Vasudama, Mahabahu, Stoka Krishna, Dama, Subahu, Vasudama, and others. So these devotees are exactly these Priya Sakhas and Priya Marma Sakhas, the topmost devotees of Sakya Ras in Vraj. So they came to this world to preach. So this is an opportunity for us to understand that these devotees, they performed very confidential service to the Supreme Lord in Sakya Ras by distributing Krishna consciousness to others. And Srila Prabhupada later, in his purport, he started speaking about how Lord Brahma wanted to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not become entangled by pride, not become affected by pride. And Srila Prabhupada explained the secret of this. And Srila Prabhupada also said that the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can become more powerful than the Lord Himself. They may perform amazing activities, unbelievable activities. And we may remember very prominent examples from the near future or from the near past. First of all, Srila Prabhupada, he made tremendous service. And as I read about the preaching of Dvadash Gopalas, how they preached tremendously. The whole villages were becoming devotees. So Srila Prabhupada also did. Fantastic. preaching did Srila Prabhupada. And also his disciples still are doing amazing preaching. Some of them have more than 50,000 disciples. It's possible only by the mercy of Krishna. And there are many of them. And Srila Prabhupada also gives us the secret, how to follow the footsteps of Dvadasha Gopals, of topmost devotees and sakhyuras, and to achieve wonderful success in the spiritual life. Of course, we are speaking about how not to become pride, but sometimes if we speak, I want to do something wonderful, something big, great for Srila Prabhupada. It can be a symptom of pride, but not necessarily. Srila Prabhupada always wanted to do something big. Srila Prabhupada could not speak small. He always think big. Once he said, I want to distribute Krishna consciousness everywhere, in all places, at one time, immediately. It's quoted by Srila Bhakti-Vikas Swami Maharaj in one of his books. So he had such an ambition. And we also can have such an ambition, but in one case. There is only one case when we can have such an ambition. And this case is also a secret of success. And this secret is an open secret, and it's in the purport to today's verse. I will read again the last purport, the last chapter, last paragraph of the purport. I will read just one sentence. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance. Why? Because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer, but to the Lord. So this is a crucial point in spiritual life. Every one of us can achieve something wonderful, but only in one case. If we surrender to the spiritual master. Of course, one may say, I know some devotee, he did so much service, he built some big temples, he performed wonderful service, but he is not surrendered to the Guru. It can be only to the extent of one's own karma. But Guru Parampara provides us the opportunity to go out of the limit of our karma. And it's limitless actually. We have limitless abilities to serve Krishna if we surrender to Guru Parampara. Guru Parampara is the source of all success. And at this point, sometimes we don't realize it, or maybe theoretically we understand it, but in our day-to-day life, we don't apply it. For example, devotees may be initiated and may do some service in the temple, but they may serve Krishna according to their own desire. I want to do Krishna this. Of course, it's natural. It's very good if we have some inclination. I want to serve Krishna like this. But it's generally prominent, and it's healthy desire at the topmost level of devotional service. But generally, we are supposed to serve Krishna as he desires. You remember the definition of the pure devotional service in Nectar of Devotion. Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnano. To serve Krishna, how? As Krishna desires. Not as I desire, as Krishna desires. And if a devotee has such an attitude, he will become successful. The example of this is Lord Brahma himself. Srila Prabhupada says, what is he saying? That factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. He is empowered to give different bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. So there are limited forms of living entities, of course limited by 8,400,000 types of living entities, but they are limited. It's a limited number. These forms of living entities are already there. They are already given by the Supreme Lord. Lord Brahma is only his small service, small of course, according to his capacity. Lord Brahma does not create the living entities, and he understands that. I'm just a servant. I have some service, some small service according to my capacity, but I do not do any extraordinary. I'm not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma understands it. And each of one, they may also be given some small service to the Supreme Lord, but it may become glorious due course of time. I want to quote some wonderful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I personally like it very much. This is from 10th canto, chapter 80, verse number 34. 10, 80, 34. Nahamija prajātibhyam tapaso pashamena va tushyayam sarva bhutatma guru shushrushaya yadha. Why this verse is important? Because in this verse it's explained how to please Krishna. That's what we want, to please Krishna. So how to please Krishna? This verse answers in indirect way. Lord says, Lord Krishna speaking himself, I, the soul of all beings, am not as satisfied by ritual worship, by tapas, upashamena, worship, penances, Brahminical initiation, tapasopashamena va tushyam, or self-discipline, as I am by faithful service rendered to one's spiritual master. So Lord Krishna will not be satisfied if we do severe tapasya. For example, just finish the Purushottam Mass. And Kartik Mass will come also. And some devotees who are serious, only serious devotees can take some additional vows during that time. So I know personally some devotees who took very hard austerities during that Mass. But some of them, they took these vows, but they were unable to go to Mangalarati, to chant japa during morning time, because they are bound by their vows. So what is the point of these austerities? You take so severe austerities, but you sacrifice the basic principle of devotional life. And what is the purpose of this? So what this verse says? This verse says, Krishna is not satisfied by tapasya. Krishna is satisfied by rendering service to one's guru. So there is a proper etiquette how to take vows. In such case, one should approach his own guru, and Guru Maharaj, I want to take some vows for the pleasure of the Lord during this Purushottam Mass. Please bless me. Tell me which vows I can take. I would like to take this and this vows. And Guru Maharaj will see, will ask you, so okay, what is the service now? How busy are you? Will you be able to perform such an austerity? If it harm your sadhana, your service, what is the point of taking such an austerities? So this is just one small example. We can take some severe vows. Every year we can take vows, but without consulting Guru, we will not achieve any success. So this is very basic points, but it's very important. If we want to go beyond our capacity, if we want to please Krishna, here is the point. Srila Prabhupada gave to us 4 secrets in Bhagavad Gita. This is just, maybe I am speaking in a joking manner, but in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada in 4 places, he says that this is the secret of Bhagavad Gita. And one of the secrets is situated in the purport of the verse, Tad vidhi paranipatena. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse, one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. So this is a basic points how we can advance in Krishna consciousness. But above this, there is a much more higher point, much more higher understanding I also want to share. So pure devotees, always, the symptom of a pure devotee, of a successful devotee, is that he is very much surrendered to his guru. I am speaking not necessarily to the Diksha Guru. In our tradition, Guru means Shiksha Guru. Devotees can take mantra, can take Diksha from one person, but they may take instruction from other person. Srila Prabhupada achieved success. Why? Because he was following very strictly his Guru Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada said that I am the only one among my God brothers who understood the mood, the heart of my Guru Maharaj. And because of that, he was empowered so much to distribute Krishna consciousness all around the world. Because he understood the mood, he was surrendered souls. So our duty is not just to do whatever Guru says to us. No, our duty, our mean of success is to try to understand what does Guru want from me? What is the desire of my Guru? This is the secret. And by that, Srila Prabhupada achieved success, and he gives all the credits to his Guru. This is the secret of how not to become proud. So I found some example of Srila Prabhupada to illustrate today's verse, today's purport. It was from conversation on Gaura Purnima, right 50 years back, here in Sridham Mayapur, 1973. It was a very nice conversation between Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And some disciples of Srila Prabhupada were also there, Tamal Krishna Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada speaks, his voice was trembling, I heard this class. And with a shaking, this broken voice, Srila Prabhupada says, I thought that Guru Maharaj wanted, and these Gauriya Math people did not do anything. So let me try in this old age. The inspiration came, and I went. By His grace, it has become a little successful. That's all. I have no credit. It's all the blessings of Guru and Vaishnava. That's all. I have no credit. I do not know how things are happening, because I am not at all in bona fide position, Srila Prabhupada says, out of his utmost humility. But it is truly Charya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Payachikeva. So this is understanding of Srila Prabhupada. The symptom of a pure devotee is that he has very strong Guru Bhakti. I will also have some time to narrate one story about Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Mukunda Datta Prabhu recently spoke gave his remembrances about Tamal Krishna, and he recollected one episode from the life of Tamal Krishna Goswami. After Srila Prabhupada's departure, ISKCON had some problems with one of Srila Prabhupada's sons, who claimed his rights to the ISKCON property. It was a problem for ISKCON. And Tamal Krishna Goswami was not asked by anyone to do such service, but as a son of his father, as a son of Srila Prabhupada, he felt that I am obliged to protect my father's property. And he also asked for help one of sannyasis in Gauriya Math, sannyasa disciple, actually disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Narayan Maharaj. I don't know exactly in which city it was, maybe in Juhu or in Los Angeles, but I know that in this place there was a temple, of ISKCON temple, and there are the deities of Ramachandra, Lakshman, Hanuman. And they went, Tamal Krishna and Narayan Maharaj went every day into the court. And every day before that, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was praying in front of Ramachandra, Lakshman, and Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. And Narayan Maharaj saw it, and he was surprised. So, is it proper? We are Gauriya Vaishnavas. We should pray to Lord Gauranga we should pray to Lord Krishna, but why this disciple prays to Lord Ramachandra? Well, he was silent for several days, but once he decided to ask Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So, Maharaj, can you kindly please excuse me? I'm just wondering, why are you praying not to Krishna, but to Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman? Tamal Krishna, in a very grave mood, looked at him, and gave this answer. I am not praying to the Lord Ramachandra. I am not praying to Bharat Maharaj. I am praying to the weapons in their hands. And Narayan Maharaj, after that he shared, in that moment I understood. These devotees are not just hippies. They have so strong Guru Bhakti. So Narayan Maharaj started to respect the disciples of Srila Prabhupada very much after this episode. Of course I have some more to say, but we don't have time. So I will just conclude that Lord Brahma was in Sakhyuras. And there are also many prominent devotees in Sakhyuras. And what is their business? In spiritual world, they play with Krishna, they serve him in this mood. But actually, in Navadvip, it's not a material world. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur says that every devotee has two forms, in Vraja and Navadvip. So these devotees in Navadvip, they preach message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to others. And that's how we can serve also Lord, and it will be Sakhyā, one of the 9 processes of devotional service. And there is one secret, one rule how to do it. We should serve Krishna only following the footsteps of spiritual master, only performing service under his instruction. And this is the secret of success. And the whole life of a devotee is to develop more and more deep relationship with the spiritual master. This is the secret of success. And if we spend our life in Krishna consciousness, developing relationship with spiritual master, we may come to the end of our life in the mood of Narottam Das Thakur, who says, Shirupa Manjari Pada, say more Sampada, say more Bhajana Pujana, say Brata, say Tapa, say more Mantra Japa, say more Parama Karama. All the processes of devotional service, Japa, worshipping deities, etc. For Narottam Das Thakur, all of these kinds of devotional service were the lotus feet of his eternal spiritual master, Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami. So this is the highest gift we can achieve by serving Krishna under the proper direction of the spiritual master. So this is a secret for everyone to find such a devotee, not necessarily Diksha Guru, but Shiksha Guru, who may very expertly guide us in the spiritual life. So Krishna will accept our service. Hare Krishna. We don't have time, I think, for the questions. Granta, what to do? Maybe one question we can accept. Rasama Nityananda Prabhu is not here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I realized Brahma was speaking an exemplary way in this verse, and I would like to know in which mood he was when he stole the cowherd boys and the cows in Vrindavan. What was the mood, and how he was apparently in this verse he was against pride. So what was the mood of Brahma at that time?
What was the mood of Lord Brahma?
Yes. in the episode of stealing the cows.
As I understood from senior devotees and from the purports, Lord Brahma was feeling very high humility because Lord Narayana he gave to him such a mercy, so he mercifully touched his hands, and Lord Brahma had a desire to please Krishna, to please the Lord. It was his most desire, not just to create living beings, but to please Krishna, to please the Lord. And Lord reciprocates with him. So Lord Brahma was full of humility and gratefulness to the Lord. And he speaks this verse in such a mood. That's what I understood. Antara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanande. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.